Hey guys, it's Leah Mason Virgin, your Christian business coach and author at burstingwithblessings.com. And today is Friday. Happy Friday, everyone. I am super excited to be here. Why? Because I have one of my most favorite people in the entire world, Ryann Dowdy, who is a CEO and co-founder of Social Sellers Academy, also the CEO of the USP program, which I came into March of last year. And it was the program and the business that she started over 2.5, 3 years ago.
I think we're coming up on, 2018 would be the actual beginning of like when I started talking about having a business. It's 2018.
That's awesome. So one of the things that, if you've been with me for more than a hot second, you know that Ryann has been my coach for, well over a year now. And I've learned so much from her. And one of the things that I know to be true is that the online space does not talk about selling in a way that helps new entrepreneurs, most especially women entrepreneurs, to sell and serve in a way that grows their businesses. And I have been very transparent and very honest about the growth journey that I went on, and the sheer fact that literally, had I not met Ryann March of last year, my business would not have made it. I would not have come to the place that I'm at now, nor would I have survived the changes that I've made this year. And so, it is my abundant honor to be able to chat with her today, because I really want you to, know that this is, it is possible for all of us to build a 7-figure, if not a 6-figure business in the online space, as well, from a place of really serving, connecting. We talked about yesterday in our 1 p.m. Workshop training how much this sales process is very much a God-inspired blueprint. Jesus literally showed us how to sell our services. Literally, Jesus went into communities, talked with people, asked them if they wanted his help, and then he said, "Come follow me." And that has been such an amazing revelation for me. I really didn't connect the dots, that's exactly what Jesus does. That's exactly what Ryann teaches, not, blatantly from a Christian standpoint, even though she is an amazing Christian woman. She serves everyone. But for me, really, connecting those dots was very empowering. So Ryann, thank you so much for being here. Tell everybody, how did you choose to switch from 15 years in corporate sales, having a massive office, having, people under you, having, what looked like the perfect life and job, to choosing to switch into entrepreneurship, the online space?
It's a fun story. Thank you, first of all, for the amazing introduction and for letting me be part of your business building journey and now part of your community. So I'm excited to be here. So my story, how did I make that decision? I went back to work after my son, who's now 4.5, was born, and I had a director of sales job, and I was so excited. I thought it was my thing, and it didn't take me very long to figure out that it was not my thing, but I didn't know it was entrepreneurship then either, Leah. It was, okay, maybe I just need to pick a different industry, right? I've been playing in marketing for a very long time. I've been playing in the startup space for a very long time. So it wasn't immediately okay, I should go start a business. In fact, that didn't even cross my mind. And then it was just through networking, when I just kept talking to people and meeting entrepreneurs and seeing what they were doing and what they were building, that I was like, well, that's an interesting idea. And then on top of that, I kept finding these people who had businesses, but the sales part of their business was such a pain point. And so it was an evolution, from the realization of this is not it. It probably took me a solid 6 months to take action on this is not it. And then probably another 7 or 8 months to really figure out who I wanted to be as an entrepreneur, how I could use the skills that I had amassed in my career to build a successful business. So it was by no means a magic wand moment. And it was by no means a straight line at all. Most days it's still not, if I'm honest. But that's kind of how we wound up here, doing what we're doing today. So it really was just this feeling of discontentment, a feeling of knowing that this was not what my life was supposed to be, or that this was just, I always struggled with sounding ungrateful because, like you said, seemingly I had it all, and I did. And it was just like, I felt like we rushed all the time. Like our life was crazy busy. Our weekends were jam-packed with, grocery shopping and cleaning the house and all of the things. And at the time I had a baby, and I was like, I'm not rushing for the next 35 years. Like, this is crazy town. And I knew that just the more I climbed that corporate ladder, the more of my time it would demand, the more travel it would demand. And it was just like, this cannot be it for me. But like I said, the path to entrepreneurship and where I am today was not clear from that realization.
Well, I love that you share that and thank you, Lori. You're so right. It is good to understand that nothing is a straight line, typically. And I think we're raised in this worldly American culture to think there is a straight path to success. And as Ryann knows, one of the things that I believe very strongly is that you are successful if you are walking in your gifts and calling.
Amen.
And so that, disconnect that you had in your spirit was certainly a feeling of like, I'm not in alignment with the way my entire life and world is sucked by some corporation. And so, knowing that you took that time to kind of talk to people, hear what they were doing, hear what was struggling, and then having that aha moment of like, well, wait a second, if you're struggling with sales, like that's my jam, people. Like, why am I not doing that? So talk a little bit about like, once you knew that aha moment of like, I'm going to serve women to learn sales, like, kind of explain a little bit about the beginning of USP.
Sure. So I'm actually going to take you all the way back to the beginning. When I first started a business, it was actually as a career and life coach for young women. It was not initially to be a sales coach. And that came out of a need as the director of sales for an agency. I would go to career fairs and I would go, I would interview women, and it frankly just made me angry. The difference between the way young men and young women presented themselves. I'm like, well, this right here, my friends, is explaining this wage gap we got going on here. And so at first I thought I would use my sales skills, right, to help those women position themselves from a career perspective. And again, like I said, what you start with isn't what you end with. And I think that's important. And that's why I felt compelled to start at the beginning of this story, right? And then the sales piece came later as I was talking to people, and I was like, oh, well, this is a gap I could fill as well. So even in the beginning, it was not 100% clear what I would do and how I would serve and what that would look like. Hey, Jill, good morning. So it was still just, I'm going to go help people. And I wound up being in the business to business space, helping other companies with their sales processes, right? Starting with, software companies. I worked with a memory facility, like a memory loss facility. I worked with a staffing company, I worked with a lot of different companies to help them with their sales. And it really didn't come about until, so at this point, we're in early 2019, where I have decided that I want to serve women specifically. So all of 2018 was spent trying to muddle through all this other junk, what I thought I was going to do, wasting all my time on the Facebook ads and the freebies and the email lists and all the other junk, finally getting to okay, this is what I'm meant to do. And then even still not having 100% clear idea of what my business would look like. And it was really 2019 where I was pregnant at this time with Georgia. So Georgia's now 2 as we're recording this. And I knew this was January, Georgia was due in June. And I was like, I got to figure this out because I'm not going back to work after this maternity leave. I'm just not doing it. And so that's really when I put my stake in the sand and said, this is what I want to do. I want to serve women starting businesses, women like myself who just wasted, 18 months of my life and thousands of dollars and still really didn't have a whole lot to show for it. Like, I wish I could say, like, I woke up and all of a sudden, like, there was money pouring in. It was not the case. It was like $1,300 a month at that time, but it was the biggest month that I'd ever had. And it just kind of started growing from there. And then it was a lot of trial and error. I launched a couple of different programs. I launched a mastermind, and then I launched a course that was like, had some coaching involved. And it took me then even still about another 6 months to really launch what was the Uncensored Sales Program, became the Uncensored Sales Accelerator, which became my 12-month program. So, and again, I'm belaboring this story intentionally because I think that we get really frustrated when we don't decide, I want to start a business. We start a business the next day. We should know exactly what we're doing and exactly what it should look like. And we should be making money all in a very short period of time, because that's what the internet has taught us, or has told us we should be able to do. And so then we get stuck in this place of fear and doubt and unworthiness and comparison and all of these things that happen to us. So that was kind of the whole journey. So then the first time, like, we fully launched the Uncensored Sales Program at the time, virtual, like, Georgia was 5 weeks old at this point. Like, I literally did it on my maternity leave, and it was my first, like, successful launch. We enrolled like 20 women that month, and it was just incredible and amazing and exciting. And we've gone on to train hundreds of women. We have since retired that program in the evolution of the Social Sellers Academy, which has also been incredible. But it's been a wild ride.
Yeah. And I love that you are really pointing that out, that even though you had this experience in sales and, you were still kind of like, well, where exactly am I serving and how does that look in the online space? Mm-hmm. And let's go back to the beautiful point that you made. I'm hearing all the time, and I made this exact mistake, is that, entrepreneurs come in to the online space and they get caught up in the whole, like, funnel ad nonsense that, this is the way that I'm going to have a profitable business, is by running these ads and people are just going to buy. Mm-hmm. And that was utterly defeating. And I was devastated. I mean, my first coach told me to post 4 times a day, go live every day, run ads to my business page, and you would get clients. And ladies and gentlemen, I did not get clients. I did not get clients until I started actually interacting with some people. And it was for a $10 thing. It was literally for a $10 prayer workbook that I was like, I'll show up in your DMs. I'll pray over you every morning. I'll give you this book. Just buy from me. I was just utterly confused about, like, what is sales? What is selling? What is marketing? I was so confused. Nobody was answering these questions. And, funny enough, I meet this amazing woman at a local event. I friend her, and all of a sudden I see friend request, Ryann Dowdy, join her group. And the next thing you know, she's running a launch talking about sales. And I was like, where have you been? Ryan even knows. I said, where were you last year? So talk about the mindset of the confused entrepreneur when it comes to marketing, funnels, and sales.
Yeah. So what we wind up, all of those things work. I want to be clear. Like, I am not anti-content marketing. I'm not anti-funnels. I'm not anti-ads. They work at a certain time in your business. And that time is likely when your business is actually making money. You have really clear messaging. You know exactly who you want to serve, the problem that you solve, what that looks like. And so I don't want to say that those things don't work. Those things are oftentimes not effective early on in our journey because of we don't know what we're doing, and I don't say that in a mean way or in a bad way. Like, I just explained to you my entire story of trial and error, right? Like, it was a lot of trial and error. The beginning of a business is trial and error, right? I mean, I just launched a second one in January. And I wish I could say, because it was 2 experienced business owners launching a business together, that it was a magic wand. Like, we're still in trial and error, right? Like we've created 6 different funnels so far because we're still in trial and error. We're just blessed now to be able to have the cash to make that happen because we have existing businesses that pay our bills. But if we had to pull, money to live out of, the Social Sellers Academy brand, like we wouldn't be able to make those investments. So I think that it's just, nobody tells you that, yes, this works, but this works when you have all of these other things in place. So, and then, like I said, it creates that space of like unworthiness and I'm not good enough and I'm not meant to do this. So what I try to do is catch women before they get to that space and tell them, just go talk to people, right? Like just go talk to people. No funnel needed. Like we have clients who buy from us that like the only time they ever see our sales page is when we send it to them to pay. Right? Like we have clients that I've literally just sent like a contract and an invoice to that have never visited our website. They have never, any of those things. It's through the relationships that I have that these clients have come to us. And so, everybody says that sales is the know, like, and trust factor. It's about building relationships, which I think inherently as women, we are brilliant at anyway. But that's really what it is. And, the funnels and stuff, they'll come later when it comes time to truly scale. But you can't scale from zero. Right? Like you have to have something to scale up. I literally just got off a sales call. I told Leah, I'm sorry we were late today, but I was on a sales call with a woman, like they're going to hit $1 million this year. She's like, and now we're really ready to scale. Like, okay, like to her, she wanted to hit 7 figures doing what she was doing. And now she's going to scale. Right. So I know, right. But it's like, that's, it's a lot of trial and error in the beginning of business. And that doesn't mean we're doing it wrong. It just means we're learning a new skill.
Yeah. And this is, that's the other thing that we, especially as women, don't realize, that sales is a skill. Learning how to sell, needing a business coach to guide you in the sales process, to talking with people, to discovery calls, to closing your discovery calls, which Ryann did a great video about recently. We need to learn it, and we need to not expect that somehow we're supposed to magically know how to value our services, how to start conversations and lead into offers, right? And for me, like that's why I was blessed to have Ryann, and I now teach the things she's taught me because it's the most effective and truly the base knowledge that we all need, or we're not going to build any business, let alone a 6-figure business, let alone being able to scale to 7 figures, which apparently this person says they only scale when they hit 7 figures, which I love. Whoever that is, I love you. But, talk about like this mindset of like, we have to somehow know sales, and we don't.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, you had made reference to like just the culture we live in today and the world today. It's all about, bigger, better, faster, instant gratification. That guy can do it, so I can do it too. And we live in this place. And because of that, I think that we think there is something, again, wrong with us when we can't figure it out. So, I mean, it's like any skill, it's any skill at all, down to like your children learning to tie their shoes, to learning how to write good social media content, to, learning how to drive a car, right? Like there's every phase in life, it requires us to learn new things. But for some reason, as high performers in general, because I find it's typically high performers that think that they, that have the gumption to actually become entrepreneurs, right? They have that level of drive to make that happen for them. And, that we have, that we're high performers across the board. And so then we take that, I don't want to say arrogance, I think that's an unfair word. Maybe it's just the confidence into building a business. And then we're like, well, shoot, I'm not as good at this as this thing I've been doing for 15 years, right? Like Leah has a career as a nurse. I had a career, as a salesperson. But again, I was still just a salesperson. I wasn't a business owner. Running a business was not easy for me. Selling was easy for me. Like running a business, not easy. So I think, I don't know where it comes from, other than I just think it's our programming in general, Leah, that we are so successful in other areas of our life that we just assume we should be able to take this thing and run with it. And like I said, that's 100% what happened to us in Social Sellers Academy when Kelly and I launched that together. And Kelly Roach is my business partner, for those of you that don't know. And Kelly and I both had very wildly successful businesses, and so I think we both were just kind of like, oh yeah, we'll figure this out. This will be a side hustle for both of us. And we very quickly realized that was not what was going to get us where we wanted to go. Even though we had the experience, it's learning a new audience, it's learning new people, it's learning a new offer, it's learning new language. So I think that it's just, I don't know if it's just because we have been promised or conditioned to think that things should just happen really quickly, or if it is the onslaught of social media messaging or the posts in Facebook group where everyone's like, I just had my first like $4 billion month and all this other stuff. And then all of a sudden we're like, it's doom and gloom and there's something wrong with us.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And Kimberly even said, sometimes I think we compare ourselves to others and think that if they can do it, so can I. And we have to really, like Ryann said, caveat that with, yes, because someone else did my business plan, right? Ultimately, maybe the service that I provide, somebody else did it, I can do it too. But that doesn't mean that my journey, and we never see it on social media, people's back end journeys, right? We don't see, the launches where one person converted, or, the tears and the late nights and the weekends, although I'm very transparent about my journey.
And I am too, because I do think that's one of the biggest flaws in the space that we live in today is that we, there's a lot of people that they want to skip all that. And they're like, okay, or I don't think it's intentional. Like, I want to be clear too. I don't think that people come on the scene and they're like, I think what they want to do is help you avoid that process of pain and discomfort and everything else. But what we forget is what we learned in that process, who we became in that process, right? Like having to become, like for me, I got a lot of coaching early on around the identity shift from employee to business owner, right? Like an identity that I had been anchored into for 15 years, that I had woken up and done every single day of my adult life. And all of a sudden I wanted to become somebody entirely different. And I'm so glad that I did. And there's a whole wild, like faith-based story in there too. But it is, but who I became in that process. Had I just had instant success in my business, would I have been able to sustain it without that process of becoming somebody different? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it is a journey that God grows us into the promised land that he wants for us. And sometimes we're in the promised land, but we're still taking cities and territory. Right, ladies? We have to think about that. Joshua brought the Israelites into the promised land, but they still had to take cities. They still had to take territory over time. And so understanding that this is a journey of, growing into the ultimate calling. Like I didn't know that I would be in this place when I started, and neither did Ryann. So I know. Oh my goodness, Ryann. Sorry. So it's 22 minutes in because I can chatty Cathy with Ryann all daggone day long. And I actually wanted to talk more about money mindset.
Yeah.
So let's just take a few minutes and just talk a little bit about money mindset, because it's such a huge thing when it comes to sales too and business building.
Yeah. So money mindset has been really interesting for me. I didn't have as many of the challenges that I find a lot of Christian women have. I was not raised in the church. So I did not have a lot of that baggage that I see a lot of Christian women carry because of what the church has taught us about money and all those different things, right? So I didn't have that. What I had created was like a ceiling of the amount of money that I thought that I was worth, right? It was what I was being paid in my corporate job. And it just never occurred to me to think beyond that. It never occurred to me to think like what that would look like. In fact, I remember early on in my journey just being like, I don't need to make, $50,000 a month. I just need to get the heck out of this job. Like, I don't need that. I don't want that. Like, I remember thinking that. And I thought of that, like those were my thoughts because that was all that I had really allowed my brain to think about. So some things I've learned about money mindset with myself is that the only ceiling that we have is the one we set for ourselves, right? The only reason I never made it over $130,000 in my corporate career is because I never thought about making more. I never set a goal for making more, right? That's kind of step one, I think, is realizing that the ceiling that we have is oftentimes self-imposed. The second thing I really had to master, Leah, is that selling is not taking when it comes to money, right? Like, how many of you said, like, well, I feel bad taking that person's money? You're not taking anything, my friend. You are exchanging value. And we need to get real clear on that when it comes to the money that is exchanged. Like, the definition of sales is the exchange of a product or service for money, right? So it is an exchange of value. That person deemed your service as more valuable than their cash. Period. End of story. You're not taking from them. You're exchanging value. And so we need to stop thinking of sales as taking from someone, but rather giving them something they deem more valuable than that money, right? Jill, self-imposed ceilings, girlfriend. You definitely have some of those for sure. So that's the first part, right? Self-imposed ceiling. Second thought is this idea of an exchange of value. And then the third piece is thinking that if I have a lot, there's not enough for anybody else. And I think this is actually one of the biggest things that we carry as Christians, because we do feel called to, as God calls us to serve the poor. Right. And so then it becomes really hard for us to think about, how am I going to sit over here in my nice house with my 6-figure business and all this other stuff when there's people all over the world starving, because we think us having money means those people don't. And that is just not true. Like, as far as the amount of money available is enough for all of us to eat. I truly believe that, in my heart of hearts. And so that's kind of that mindset piece, that my having money doesn't take money out of somebody else's pocket. And I think that is one of the issues that we have as Christians, is that we think that, if I take this money, if I make a lot of money, if I'm uber successful, if I have everything that I need and want, then somebody else goes without. And then that's where we have this resistance to wealth. Right? We might not have resistance to building a business that makes a couple $1,000s a month, or maybe even we get to 6 figures, but we never really try to grow past that, because we have this fear of, well, if I grow a 7-figure business, then somebody else goes without. Right? What I have chosen to believe is, when I grow a 7-figure business, not only do I help a whole lot of other people, right? And live in the purpose that I think God created for me, but I also create employment. I create opportunity. I create all sorts of really exciting things in the world. So it's like that, I think, mindset really trips us up a lot too. So those are the 3 that I really think that if you could start there, right? Like, what is your self-imposed ceiling? Like, what amount of money do you think, like, I don't need to make more than that? Like, that's problem number 1. Problem number 2, it is definitely really understanding, that there's plenty of money, right? There's plenty of money in the world for all of us to have, and that we're not taking from others by doing that. And that it is not, I take money from you and then all this other stuff. So that's kind of my viewpoint on the money mindset side of things. It's really believing that there is an abundance available to us, and that our success is not at the expense of someone else, except for one of the mantras, and Leah knows I live by this, is the more money I make, the more money I can give. Right. And I don't say this in a crass way, but if people in poverty could get out of poverty without our support, they would be out of poverty. Right. So I would rather make the money and put the money back in to help the impoverished, or whatever your hot button is, whoever your people are. I would rather be able to donate to that cause, be in control of the money and funnel it into that. Because if I choose to not make money, and, then other people who are making a lot of money get to funnel the money where their causes go. Right. So, so that's kind of, my viewpoint on this money mindset idea, is that we are not, that it's not a bad thing. It's in fact a magical thing, and it's an amazing thing. And it gives us access to so many opportunities, not just for ourselves, but for the people we serve, for the hope we create in others, for the ways that we can give back. Again, to use the example of the woman that I was on the phone with before I hopped on here with Leah, it's her and her husband, and they're, a faith-based organization, and the proceeds of their 7-figure company goes into a nonprofit organization that builds homes, for women coming out of sex trafficking and drugs and all this other stuff. Right. Like, are we mad that this woman built a 7-figure business? Or are we really glad that she has the heart, that she has the heart of God to, she has God within her, that she's willing to give that money back to help these other people. So if you can view money as a tool instead of this thing that we take from others, that I think helps immensely from the Christian perspective.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. And I struggled with that mindset of like, if I have, someone else doesn't get.
Mhm.
But I realized the more that I have, the more women I help.
Yep.
And the more women I serve into their gifts and calling. And
Yep.
if we have that, then that's called a revival.
Yeah.
And we are praying for that. Well, guess what? That means that we have to encourage people into their gifts and calling, and so that they can expand their territory, enlarge their tents, and impact this world in such a way that
Mhm.
we cause the change, that
Yeah.
we cause justice, right? We're all, I would love to see an end to trafficking. And
Yep.
so, thank you, Ryann. Thank you for saying that, because those key elements were
Mhm.
absolutely what we need to remind ourselves as women who are building businesses and asking for a currency exchange,
Mhm.
asking for a value exchange. And so, where you talk about, I love what you are creating right now. Ryann is building her next business, and they are doing
Mhm.
some amazing things. And so you share about that, share where people can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Social Sellers Academy was designed specifically to help business owners, to train sales teams for business owners, to support the online community as their businesses grow, to get out of the role of primary revenue driver in their business. So, in the academy, we hire and train sales reps for. We always say mission driven or impact driven, rapid growth companies. And so that is what we do. And it's super fun. I love teaching sales. It's like my favorite thing to do. But we also have a ton of really great resources for those of you that are not yet in that phase to grow or to hire, but are still looking to master it yourself. So we do have a podcast. It's called Daily Sales on Demand for CEOs, that we teach a lot around sales. There's a lot of sales how-to for you there. You can follow us on Instagram at Social Sellers Academy. And then we have a Facebook group called Sales Mastery for service-based professionals. So any of those places are going to get you some really great sales and mindset resources.
Awesome. All right, guys, thank you so much. I will see you in the community group at 1 p.m. East Coast time zone for our training session today. We will be unpacking more, being clear and concise in our business building, in our sales conversations. And so I look forward to seeing you guys there. And please feel free to drop your questions. I'll make sure that Ryann gets them if they're directed towards her. And we are so honored that you guys shared time with us. Thank you, Ryann. I'll see you guys in just a little bit.
Bye.